At first, it feels like abundance, not the loud or excessive kind, but a quiet assurance that space is no longer something that must be managed, defended, or negotiated. A sense that whatever arrives can simply remain, without consequence and without review. Space without visible edges presents itself as freedom, because limits that cannot be seen are quickly forgotten, and once forgotten, they no longer shape judgment. Memory loses its weight, not because it becomes less meaningful, but because it no longer presses back, no longer demands selection, hierarchy, or restraint. You save because there is no reason not to. You keep because removal feels unnecessary, even faintly irrational, as though deletion itself were a form of waste rather than an act of clarity. You accumulate because accumulation appears costless, and where cost is invisible, the mind does not learn to calculate. Nothing feels wrong. Nothing feels excessive. There is only ease. And then, without hostility, without accusation, without any sense of betrayal, the condition quietly changes. A message appears, framed as information rather than a demand. Storage full. Upgrade required. In that moment, confusion often arrives before frustration, because the internal story has already been written. This system was generous. This system was sufficient. This system worked. The assumption is that something external has failed, that growth exceeded expectation, that technology encountered a constraint it could not overcome. But nothing has failed. Free storage has behaved exactly as it was designed to behave. The misunderstanding lies in the word free itself. We treat it as an economic description, as if it were merely a number, 0 instead of 5, absence instead of presence. But free is not a price. It is a condition, a psychological environment. And environments shape behavior far more reliably than rules, intentions, or warnings ever could. This was understood with uncomfortable clarity by Roman Stoics, long before anything resembling modern technology existed. Seneca observed that the most powerful forms of control do not arrive with force. They arrive with comfort. They arrive as relief. They arrive as generosity that removes friction while quietly restructuring expectation. To understand why free storage always runs out, it is necessary to pause and name the mechanism at work. Because without this structure, the pattern appears accidental rather than inevitable. Stoic psychology begins with impressions. An impression is the initial appearance of something as useful, pleasant, or relieving. This is convenient. This makes life easier. This removes effort. The impression itself is not yet dangerous. Danger enters at the next stage, assent. Assent is the moment the mind agrees with the impression, often silently, without argument, that what appears useful is also good. When assent is repeated without resistance, habit forms. Habit does not feel chosen. It feels natural. From habit, attachment emerges, not because the thing is essential, but because disruption now feels like harm. Attachment generates fear of loss. Fear narrows judgment. And fear, left unexamined, hardens into false necessity, the belief that life cannot function without what was once merely convenient. Nothing external forces this sequence. The mind completes it willingly. This is the engine beneath free storage. When storage costs nothing, the impression of abundance is constant. When abundance is constant, assent becomes automatic. When assent is automatic, habit forms without awareness. Deletion no longer feels like judgment. It feels like aggression. Organization no longer feels prudent. It feels optional. Ease dulls discernment, not because effort is virtuous, but because effort forces evaluation. And evaluation is where freedom lives. When resources are finite, choices reveal priorities. When resources appear infinite, priorities dissolve into accumulation. Free storage removes the teacher, and without the teacher, the lesson is never learned. Files remain not because they matter, but because there is no reason to remove them. Photos multiply not because they are meaningful, but because sorting them would require attention. Versions duplicate not because they add value, but because friction has been outsourced to the system. Over time, accumulation becomes background. Background becomes assumed. And what is assumed quietly transforms into what feels necessary. At this stage, dependence has not announced itself. There is no fear yet, only comfort. But comfort, in Stoic analysis, is never neutral. Comfort trains expectation. Expectation reshapes desire. Desire stabilizes into attachment. And attachment prepares the ground for fear. This is where exit costs begin to form, not through restriction, but through neglect. Leaving is possible, in theory, but practice tells a different story. Organization has been deferred. Judgment has been unused. The archive has grown beyond intelligibility. Scale produces inertia. Inertia resists movement. And resistance quietly raises the price of departure. This structure is not new. In Rome, dependence rarely arrived through chains or threats. It arrived through routine. Each morning, clients gathered outside the homes of powerful men in a ritual known as the salutatio. They came voluntarily. They left with small gifts: food, money, legal help, protection. There were no contracts, no commands, nothing that resembled coercion. Yet Seneca was explicit about what this system produced. The gift, when repeated, ceased to feel like a gift. It became infrastructure. What began as generosity became background. What became background was assumed. And what was assumed reshaped freedom without ever announcing itself as control. The Roman patron did not command obedience. He made independence feel reckless. Leaving was always possible, but habit, reputation, and fear of instability raised the cost of exit until remaining felt prudent. This was the genius of patronage. Domination did not feel like domination. It felt like order. Seneca distinguished sharply between a beneficium that strengthens the recipient and one that weakens him. A true gift leaves the receiver capable of standing alone. A corrupting gift rearranges life so that standing alone feels dangerous. Some Romans refused patronage entirely. They lived with less comfort, but they retained exit. Seneca admired this restraint, not because hardship was virtuous, but because freedom was preserved. This is the structure free storage reproduces, not metaphorically, mechanically. At first, it hosts. It absorbs friction. It removes burden. Over time, it becomes the place where things live, not provisionally, but properly. When scarcity finally appears, it does not feel like a change in terms. It feels like an interruption. And interruption, once attachment has formed, feels like harm. This is why the price rarely feels outrageous. You are not comparing cost to value. You are comparing cost to disruption. Payment is not experienced as purchase. It is experienced as maintenance, as upkeep, as responsibility. Free storage did not betray you. It never promised permanence. It promised ease. And ease, delivered consistently, reshapes judgment long before scarcity ever arrives. Free was never the product. Free was the training period, training habit, training attachment, training dependence to feel reasonable rather than imposed. Free storage always runs out, not because generosity fails, but because conditioning works. What costs nothing reshapes behavior. What reshapes behavior determines outcomes. And dependence, once learned, sustains itself.